bro. Like, yo. Let's see this. One of the worst case things I've ever seen. Let's see.
This case takes place in the UK in the year 2017. Salman Abedi was born in Manchester on the 31st of December 1994 to Libyan parents who had fled the regime of Gaddafi. His parents
In Libya? Libya in there, bro.
had been opponents to the
You're
Libyan
still
leader
killing people,
and
huh?
claimed asylum in the United Kingdom before settling in South Manchester. He had 2 brothers and a sister. Neighbours later described the household as religious and conservative, but as a teenager, Salman was rather rebellious. He smoked cannabis, did poorly at school, and would sometimes misbehave. He developed a reputation as a volatile young man who could become angry quickly during minor
I'm
disagreements.
guessing he went to go off someone. If he got offed. Actually, he probably did it.
Salman's parents had strong ties with Libya and travelled back frequently after the 2011 uprising against Gaddafi. During the conflict, Salman also visited Libya and spent extended periods of time there amid the civil war environment. In August of 2014, the Royal Navy had to evacuate Salman, along with other British citizens from Libya, as security deteriorated there again. By that point, Salman had already encountered armed groups and political violence during his stay in the country. He became radicalized and began plotting to commit a terrible crime. On returning to Britain, Salman enrolled on a business course at the University of Salford in 2014. He attended only for a short period of time and dropped out the following year.
Oh, so like I'm guessing he became to one of them, basically trying to kill people. Isn't it what we call jihadists, something like that?
Yeah, without completing the course. But he still remained a student, and so he was eligible for loans and financial support. And he later used the state-provided
To buy weapons or something.
loans to fund his sinister plot.
Crazy.
Friends and family noticed a shift in his religious behavior over time, with reports that he became more rigid and more withdrawn. By 2015, he was expressing extremist views. He even spoke about these extremist views in a mosque. His fellow religious peers were horrified, and there were reports that he was effectively told not to return for a certain period. Several individuals also
That probably caused him to become more fucked up, but they kicked him out or pushed him away. He's doing some crazy shit and saying, oh, other crazy shit. So I see why they basically kicked him out.
contacted official channels to warn about his radical views, including concerns passed to an anti-terror hotline. The security service already held information about Salman in 2015. But Salman wasn't alone in his radicalization. His brother, Hashim, also fell down the rabbit hole. Hashim was born in 1997, and the 2 brothers shared the same household. Hashim studied engineering-related subjects at college level.
I'm guessing, oh, he probably started making weapons or attempted to.
Trained in electrical installation, which gave him the knowledge to assemble detonators.
Bombs, oh yeah.
In the period before the attack, people who knew the brothers in Manchester described them as increasingly close and insular. They spent more time together, spoke frequently in private, and were seen using shared phones and email accounts. He too travelled to Libya. As the 2 became more radicalized, they decided to act. They wanted to construct a large explosive device and use it against innocent people. Hashim was the brains behind Salman's aggression and radicalized intent. He helped source chemicals, obtain shrapnel materials, and identify places where experimentation could occur without attracting attention. By early 2017, both brothers were committed to carrying out an attack aimed at causing maximum casualties among innocent civilians in their home city. To acquire the chemicals, the brothers created or used multiple email accounts and contact details to avoid drawing attention. In March of 2017, they began ordering significant quantities of hydrogen peroxide online, using cover stories that suggested commercial.
What was it called? Something gas. It's not flowing gas, is it? It's a dangerous gas that can kill people. That's deadly. You know how you make it? I don't know if that's actually how.
or domestic use. Deliveries were sent to different addresses. The two brothers told acquaintances that the materials were needed to repair a car battery. A small number of friends assisted with obtaining the items or storing the materials. At the same time, the brothers set about sourcing metal nuts and screws designed to act as lethal shrapnel inside the device. On the evening of the 8th of April 2017, Salman and Hashim bought a small Nissan Micra to use as a mobile store for the bomb components. They paid cash, registered the car to a false address, and they parked it in a side street near their home. The two brothers, along with their parents, then returned to Libya for a short trip. Hashim stayed in Libya, while Salman would return alone to complete the plan. During this time, Hashim kept in contact with Salman. Encouraging him over text to complete their mission.
In the past.
In May of 2017, Salman rented a house right near Manchester Piccadilly Station. In the days immediately before the attack, Salman visited the Manchester Arena to conduct a reconnaissance, to scope out the destination for his attack, essentially to figure out the best place to cause maximum casualties. On the 22nd of May, he completed the bomb in the rented house and left carrying the heavy backpack containing the device. He traveled by tram to Victoria
People who defend him today.
Station during the evening while Ariana Grande's concert was underway. CCTV later traced his movements, calmly walking through the station up towards the city room as he awaited the end of the show. Around 14,000 people attended Ariana's show at the Manchester Arena on the night of the 22nd of May 2017. The crowd included large numbers of children and teenagers with their parents or older relatives accompanying them. As Ariana Grande finished her last song, many fans started to leave through the staircases and corridors leading to the City Room foyer. The City Room was a semi-enclosed space above Victoria Station, connecting the area bowl to the outside world and public transport. It contained merchandise and food stands. Security staff and stewards were positioned there, expecting a routine surge of people leaving the arena. Salman had already taken up his position near the glass doors that led away from the arena into the foyer. He was wearing his backpack, weighing more than 30 kilograms. Inside was a main charge placed with a metal container surrounded by thousands of nuts and screws to act as shrapnel. The bomb also contained a small power source and a trigger mechanism designed for manual detonation. At 10:31 p.m., Salman
He blew himself up. That's probably why a lot of people hate like a lot of Muslims in the UK. Probably part of the reason. People see shit like this and boom. Pattern reckoning or some shit like that. I don't know.
detonated the device at his position near the exit doors. The blast ripped through the foyer, sending a wave of pressure, flame, and metal fragments into the dense crowd. The explosion instantly killed Salman and many of those closest to him. Shrapnel embedded in the walls, ceilings, and doors, and caused devastating injuries to those in its path. Witnesses described seeing a sudden flash and a loud bang that knocked them off their feet. Dust, smoke, and the smell of burning filled the room as the lights flickered and debris fell. Some survivors near the edges of the foyer saw people lying motionless, while others cried out for help. The explosion was heard throughout the arena bowl and corridors, causing confusion as crowds tried to understand just what had happened. A friend of mine in attendance initially thought a speaker or balloon had burst, but the sight of smoke and running security staff quickly signaled something far worse. People began to stampede. Stewards and arena staff began shouting at people to move away from the foyer and to leave by alternative routes. Inside the city room, uninjured or less injured bystanders immediately started to give first aid to those around them. Some used belts, scarves, and makeshift bandages to try and stop the heavy bleeding from limb injuries. Others comforted seriously hurt relatives or strangers while waiting for professional help to arrive. At 33 minutes past 10, the first 999 call reporting an explosion at the arena reached the emergency services. Greater Manchester Police declared a major incident, but there were worries that there could be multiple more attackers. Within just minutes, armed officers entered the complex. They were operating under the possibility of a marauding firearms attack, which affected the early flow of paramedics into the immediate blast area. Outside, people leaving the arena gathered on the streets and in car parks, many separated from their family members in the rush. Taxi drivers, hotel workers, and local residents took in distressed concertgoers and helped them make calls to their relatives. Inside the foyer, 3 paramedics began triage and treatment, but they were heavily outnumbered by the casualties. Many patients were carried out of the city room on advertising boards, crowd barriers, or other improvised stretchers. As more emergency service personnel came to the scene, the gravity of the situation set in. In total, 22 people died that day, hundreds were left injured, and more than 1,000 people were recorded to have psychological harm. For 2 of the victims, there was a real possibility that a better medical response might have altered the outcome. The attack deliberately targeted a space filled with families and young fans at their most relaxed point into the night. Alison Howe, aged 44, was a mother from Royton who went to the arena to pick up her teenage daughter and her friend. She died in the city room.
Oh, damn.
While waiting near the doors to the arena, Lisa Lees, aged 43, was a beauty therapist and mother of 2 who stood alongside Alison that night. Lisa died where she stood, only
Damn.
meters away from the bomber, while her daughter survived inside the arena. Angelica Kliss, aged 39, and Marcin Kliss, aged 42, were a married couple from Poland who lived in York. They travelled with their daughters to Manchester and stayed outside to meet them after the concert. Both parents were killed in the explosion, leaving their daughters without their mother and father. Chloe Rutherford, age 17, and Liam Curry, age 19, were a couple from South Shields who attended the show together. They died side by side near the foyer area as they left the arena. Courtney Boyle, age 19, was a university student from Gateshead who went to the concert with her stepfather. Courtney died in the blast together with her stepfather, Philip Tron, aged 32, who was also killed. Elaine McIver, aged 43, was an off-duty police officer from Cheshire who attended the arena with her partner. and his children. Elaine died in the city room, whilst those she was with were injured, but they did survive. Georgina Callender, aged 18, was a student from Lancaster and a devoted fan of Ariana. Georgina died shortly after the explosion, despite efforts by medical staff to save her life. John Atkinson, aged 28, was a support worker from Bury who cared for young adults with additional needs. John suffered a severe leg injury in the blast and
It is. I don't care about these. Like, I'm not gonna say these people. These like extremist niggas, bro. You guys do this for what reason? Because your book says, "Oh, go do this." Like, bro, it's weird. This shit weird. Parents left the country so they can have, freedom and better place. They didn't want to stay in like civil war and all this other shit. They want to have a chance of dying or something. A better life for the kids. If for the kids to end up becoming like some fucking idiot. Like, fuck. Just go kill more people, which will basically cause people from there to hate people like you. Which you're basically sending yourself backwards. You're sending yourself back, bro. Then people, and let's say one person gets in power that sees the pattern or some shit, or quote unquote pattern. Boom. They're gonna make everyone hate you. And people that follow your, type of things. None of that makes sense. That probably doesn't.
died later in the hospital. His death could have been prevented if faster treatment was administered. Kelly Brewster, aged 32, died from her injuries after the blast. Martin Head, aged 29, from Stockport, was right next to the bomber at the moment of detonation. He died at the scene. Nell Jones, 14, from Cheshire, attended the concert with a close friend. Nell was among the closest to the blast and was later confirmed dead after a search by her family. Olivia Campbell Hardy, aged 15. She died from her injuries after being found and treated at the scene. Megan Hurley, aged 15, from Merseyside. She went to the concert with her older brother, who was badly injured but survived. Tragically, Megan died after suffering severe injuries near the centre of the blast. Michelle Kiss, aged 45, from Lancaster, was a mother of 3 who went to pick up her daughter. Michelle passed away in the foyer despite attempts to save her life. Jane Tweedle, aged 51, from Blackpool. She was visiting Manchester with a friend. Jane was killed by the explosion while standing some distance from the bomber. Sorrel Levchovsky, aged 14, from Leeds. She visited the arena with her mother and grandmother, who were both injured but survived. She passed away after suffering multiple injuries near the foyer entrance. Ailey MacLeod, aged 14, from the Isles of Barra in Scotland. She travelled hundreds of miles with a friend to attend the concert. She died from her injuries in the city room. Wendy Fowle, aged 50, from Otley. She went to the arena with friends to collect their children. She too was killed in the blast. Due to YouTube restrictions, I can't show the last victim, Safi Roussos, aged 8. She attended the concert with her mother and sister. She was the youngest victim of the attack. Within hours of the bombing, investigators began piecing together what had happened. Among the debris, police found bank cards bearing Salman's name, which provided an early lead on the attacker's identity. Facial recognition checks using CCTV images linked to official records quickly confirmed it. Armed officers raided his family home the following day, securing evidence and detaining individuals for questioning. They arrested Salman's older brother, Ismail, along with several other men on suspicion of terrorism-related offences. At the same time, investigators traced Salman's car that he used to store the bomb components. Inside, they found evidence that the car had been used as part of the plot. They traced deliveries to addresses in Rusholme and Blackley, then linked those addresses back to the brothers and some other associates. Police and intelligence officers
Make people hate you more.
and also sought to establish whether Salman had travelled or trained with organised terror groups abroad. They confirmed that he had spent time in Libya and that he almost certainly had contact with individuals linked to the Islamic State. However, the extent of what he was up to outside the UK is still classified. In the first 10 days after the attack, 22 people were arrested in the UK as potential suspects or witnesses. All of those arrested in Britain were later released without charge, and the police announced that they believed Salman had largely acted alone in the final stages of the attack. The focus of the attention shifted to his brother Hashim, who was still in Libya at the time of the bombing. Libyan security forces detained Hashim in Tripoli on the 23rd of May 2017. During his detention, British investigators supplied evidence linking him to the purchase of chemicals, shrapnel, and other materials. In November of 2017, he formally requested Hashim's extradition to face trial. After prolonged negotiations and political challenges in Libya, he was finally handed over to British custody in July of 2019. After the attack, the government tried to understand how this had been missed. Reviews looked at what the security services already knew about Salman and why that information hadn't led to any action beforehand. A public inquiry examined the emergency response, the arena security, and the intelligence held at the time. It found missed warning signs, slow responses, and failures to join the dots. The inquiry said that the attack might have been prevented if that...
I'm not gonna think they should do it like China, but like they need to step up their game. China basically they know what they're doing.
Information had been acted on sooner. MI5 later accepted that they had not moved quickly enough. Despite this, investigators found no evidence of a wider hidden terror cell. Following his extradition in July of 2019, Hashim was brought to the UK and placed in high-security custody. He was charged with 22 counts of murder, one for each person killed in the bombing. The trial began in February of 2020.
How many life sentences is that? Is that like that's probably like 3.
It lasted several weeks. The prosecution's case was that Hashim had been deeply involved in every stage of the preparation, except for the final act of detonation. The defense position was that Hashim didn't know the full extent of Salman's intentions, and
we all know this nigga definitely did, bro. I definitely did.
He did not agree to plan to kill anyone. His legal team suggested that he believed the materials might be used for a less harmful purpose.
They were both. Okay, let's just give him that.
Such as destruction of property. Hashim chose not to give evidence in his own defense, and at times he refused to attend court. After hearing all the evidence, the jury retired to consider its verdicts. On the 17th of March 2020, the jury found Hashim guilty of all 22 counts of murder. The sentencing took place in August of 2020. Families of the victims read statements describing
he's gonna get butt buddies. He's gonna be taking that.
Good for him. And the impact of the bombing on their lives. They spoke of ongoing physical injuries, deep trauma, whilst others described the long-term grief of losing children, partners, and parents. Hashim again refused to attend for much of the sentencing hearing, and the judge ordered.
He did not even want to be free. That's basically what. Then he basically did not give a fuck.
The proceedings continue without him. This clear evidence just goes to show that he had zero remorse for what he had done. The judge explained that the law left him with no choice but to impose life in prison.
He would have probably gotten less time. How he's looking, bro. Oh my days. Yeah, bro.
Imprisonment for the murder convictions. His next task was to decide how long Hashim would have to remain in prison before any possibility of release could even be considered. The court heard that, had Hashim been 21 at the time of the bombing, the judge could have imposed a whole life tariff, meaning that he would never be released. But Because Hashim was 20 years old,
Are these AI pictures? It kind of look like it.
the law prevented this sentence. So instead, the judge sentenced him to a minimum term of 55 years. This meant that Hashim would not be eligible for parole until later.
Like when he comes out, he's gonna go build some other shit to nuke the whole world or country. Boom. Actually, he's not. He's probably not gonna have enough money and material for that. But like,
into his life. And at the time, it was
that could give him radiation poisoning if it goes wrong. So like, create another Chernobyl.
the longest minimum term ever imposed by a British court. The judge described Hashim as being just as responsible as Salman for the attack, given his role in the planning and the preparation. In the immediate aftermath of the attack, Manchester residents gathered to leave flowers, messages, and candles for the victims. Vigils took place all across the city, and the phrase Manchester Strong appeared on banners, artworks, and social media posts. On the 4th of June 2017, less than 2 weeks after the bombing, Ariana returned to the city to headline the One Love Manchester benefit concert. The event at Old Trafford featured numerous performers and was broadcast live to audiences all around the world. It raised more than £17 million for the We Love Manchester Emergency Fund.
What even? Never heard of it. One Love. That one? No.
Over time, funds raised through donations and charity events were used to provide financial assistance, counseling, and long-term support for those affected. For the survivors and their families, the consequences of the attack have continued for years. People with life-changing injuries have undergone multiple operations and extensive rehabilitation. Some survivors have spoken publicly about being targeted by conspiracy theorists who falsely claim that the attack was staged, adding a new layer of distress. Within the prison,
Sure that did it. Yeah. Yeah, it was the Jews. They did it. They did it. We saw them. We all saw them. They literally put the thing in his mind to go make him do it. And there's niggas who will believe that shit.
system, Hashim has been linked to further violent attacks. In April of 2025, he allegedly threw hot cooking oil over officers at the prison he's staying at.
Okay, me, I had shoot him in the leg, bro.
He has also attacked several members of staffs with improvised blades. One can only hope that he remains.
Bro, I'm shooting him in the leg. Yeah, I'm not gonna say I'll put a bounty on his head, but I'm gonna like whoever like injures him the most. That's like 1,000.
Bars for the rest of his life.
It's crazy. Guys, basically attacking more people. Like, bro, are you bored? Guy has to be bored. He has like 50 years in jail. He's definitely bored. There's nothing. Who's going to do it?
Several members of staffs
Guy looks like he's dead inside, bro. Probably is. Mm. Anyways, yeah, that's it for that video.